What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Doghouse. Today is October 31st. That is Halloween, so happy Halloween to you guys. And today, I forgot my costume. Shit happens. But Jack, he dressed up as a delusional Heat fan, wishing he had Dame Lillard on his team. Today, we're going to be talking about NBA opening week. Jack, what are your first impressions? What's the first thing that comes to mind for NBA opening week?
I think the hottest topic is Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, how could you say it's not? The kid's 19 and he's 7'4". I think it is ridiculous how much of a phenom he actually is.
Do you think he really has the LeBron James type of hype?
I mean, I gotta say he does have the LeBron James hype, but I gotta admit, I was kind of a hater when I saw him on film and all that stuff. But I was only being a hater because I was just being like a normal, casual Instagram hater. But yeah, he does have that hype.
Do you think Coach Popovich, him limiting his play, is going to affect like his level of, playing style?
Well, I feel like he just has to get more accustomed to NBA level of play. You can't throw a 19-year-old out there and have him playing full minutes, full intensity, because that's how you injure a one-in-a-lifetime player.
They got blown out by the Clippers last game because Victor couldn't play to his max because he only played less than 25 minutes.
Yeah, and he gets in foul trouble too. So, I mean, but that's the rookie woes. Things happen with that. I mean, I can see how Victor is going to need some time to get accustomed to the NBA. But until that happens, I mean, I agree with Pop in terms of letting him calm down, find his role, and also not get into foul trouble.
Talk about how lucky the Spurs are to getting legendary bigs. Tim Duncan, Victor, all that from #1 draft picks.
I saw that Instagram post, and I didn't even really think about it that way until I saw it, like with David Robinson, with Tim Duncan, and now Wemby. It's just ridiculous. As a tall guy, for those who don't know, I stand at 6'5". Oh, I'm a tall guy, whatever. But the reason I like Wemby so much, like now that I actually watched his opening game and all that stuff, it's because he makes people my height. I'm a tall guy. He makes people my height look tiny. And I gotta say, I really love watching him go out there and just dwarf everybody on the court. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I think the Warriors preseason game was his best performance so far.
Why was that?
He made Klay look stupid just staying above the rim while he's jumping, and couldn't even touch the ball, and he just dunked it.
It's just so much fun. I mean, I don't even know why I was hating. Wemby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for being that guy, but I can't hate anymore. I mean, from one tall guy to an extremely tall guy, I love you now, Wemby. I really do. It's so much fun to watch.
So the last question about Wemby, does he become a Hall of Famer?
Yeah. I don't see how, besides if he gets injured and he has injury problems his whole career, you can't really base a prediction off of injuries because they don't happen until they happen. But yeah, I think Wemby, even if he plays below his expectations, he still ends up in the Hall of Fame because how could you not at 7'4" handling like you're Kevin Durant? Well, at his immature level he is, but when he gets better, I think he's going to be a really, really good player going forward.
I agree. I just think he needs time to process everything, get his minutes up, and then he's going to show a great performance later in the season.
I mean, he's in great hands because he has Pop.
That's true.
He's in great hands. He could have gone to a poverty franchise and they could have wasted away his career, but he went to one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, and he has that really well-established franchise behind him. So it makes me happy as an NBA fan to see that he went somewhere where he's actually going to be well-developed.
Mm-hmm. In the start of the season, what player is standing out the most to you?
I gotta say, I mean, it's a pretty casual pick, but I have to go Dame because all eyes are on Dame. As I said in the beginning of the podcast, he has the Heat jersey on. He's a big Heat fan, so am I. And of course, we wanted Dame on our team. So we have those... all the eyes are on Dame right now, and seeing him drop that huge game one, that's my favorite player of the season so far because I want to see how he performs going forward.
He had a poor performance versus the Hawks, but he did bounce back against my team, unfortunately, the Heat, so we'll see.
Well, of course he did. I mean, that's where he was supposed to go. Of course he had to prove to everybody that, like, fuck the Heat, I don't need him. I'm going to go.
Do you see the awkward hall entrance between Jimmy and Dame?
I mean,
they dapped each other up, and Dame was trying to avoid him.
It's like a bad breakup, man. It's like they're texting, like pillow talking to each other. They're like pillow talking to each other on like text message, and then Dame has to be like, "Sorry, but my love is somewhere else. I'm going to the Bucks."
They had a clean dap up though.
Yeah, like clap through the whole stadium, dude. I mean, look. I mean, if I'm Dame, I can't be mad that I'm on the Bucks because you have the freak Giannis with you. So I mean, either way, it was a win-win for him. But I could see why he wanted to be in Miami. I mean, that warm weather, having Jimmy buckets, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, but that's the person I have.
Giannis signed that 3 max extension too because of the Dame signing.
You know what? I don't understand why Giannis was like, this is Dame's team now. Why would he say that?
I think he's trying to give him the confidence to be the leader he needs to be.
I know, but I don't know why he said that, because obviously it's not Dame's team. I don't care what you say. That's not Dame's team. It's Giannis'
Well, and
team.
he's like half joking around.
I mean, yeah. That quote didn't make any sense to me.
Because he wants Dame to feel like really appreciated by him, and you know.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I don't see the Bucks coming out of the East for the championship. They have a really good chance to. I'm not going to say they don't.
I would say the Celtics do it.
Yeah, I'd say it's between the Celtics. Of course, you cannot count out the Heat. You just
obviously not, dude. Last 4 years, we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, so you can't count out the Heat, no matter what their roster is looking like, especially when they can make in-season trades and all that stuff. You never know what's going to happen. So I say it's between coming out of the East. It is between the Bucks, the Heat, and the Celtics. But I think it's a little too early to tell. I mean, of course you can make your predictions, but you can't really tell right now.
We have to count out the Sixers with that Harden trade last night.
Yeah, I mean, Embiid, I can't believe we had a conversation before we even started this whole podcast thing about how I said Embiid was like a fake MVP. And he was like, no, but I love Embiid and all that stuff. And I could see that. But what I meant by Embiid is a fake MVP is that he can't do it when he doesn't have that Robin to his Batman, on his team. So I'm interested to see what Embiid can do in terms of winning with Harden being traded.
No one in NBA history has won MVP more than 2 consecutive years. Jokic had won the MVP last 2 consecutive years last year, so they needed another story, and Embiid was definitely the runner-up if it wasn't Jokic.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, that's what I've always hated about the MVP award, because people should be winning it more than two times in a row. Jokic, clearly, to anyone who has eyeballs, would say that Jokic was probably the MVP last year, and he proved it.
It was very debatable. Embiid had higher points per game.
He did, but I mean, points isn't the only thing that matters to me, especially. I mean, Jokic proved it in the playoffs. That man is one big refrigerator out there, dude. He's like a bathtub. Has no mobility, no nothing.
Talk about the Nuggets start. They're already super hot. They look like the best team in the NBA.
To me, I got to say, the Nuggets are the best team in the NBA to me right now. When they played the Lakers, it was like they just looked unbeatable. They just looked unbeatable. And of course, they're going to have bad nights and stuff like that. But to me, the Nuggets right now are on fire. And I can't say with confidence that any other team could beat them in a 7-game series right now.
They're 3-0 to start the season, and they had a massive blowout against Oklahoma Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder is also another team that people have to watch out for, especially if they can really develop all that young talent they have. They're going to be a team to look out for. But as I said, I don't think there's any team right now that's going to be competitive with the Nuggets in a 7-game series.
I will say the Thunder lineup looks nice with SGA, Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet.
Don't forget my boy Chet.
Really nice lineup.
Chet's my rookie of the year this year.
I have him in my fantasy, so he's popping off.
Actually, I want to talk about something. I'm not in Jack's fantasy basketball league, but his fantasy basketball league, if you're in his league and you're watching this, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know how you let this man draft the Avengers as a fantasy basketball team. Can just give them your starting lineup real fast.
I have Luka Doncic, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Bam Adebayo, Simmons, Chet, Tyler Hero.
That's all you had to say.
Most of them, yeah.
That's all you had to say. And
Siakam too.
This little wizard over here. What'd you do with James Harden last night?
I traded him last night for Siakam and Jalen Green.
So we woke up this morning to the James Harden trade news. He got traded from the 76ers to the Clippers. And I walk in this morning and Jack goes, oh yeah, I traded James Harden last night right before he got traded. I just had a feeling. I'm like, what do you mean you just had a feeling? This dude just knew.
Well, Woj was ranting off how Sixers are disappointed in Harden sitting out. The front office was frustrated with them. So too many things led up to Harden's going.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, ever since I met this kid, he's been like a secret sorcerer with sports. He just gets it. He just knows what's going on. And
thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So if he had you said Paul George and Kawhi on your team, and think about how crazy that fantasy trade is for the fact that
they're both 2 and 3 standings for shooting forward and power forward.
Yeah, and then you get James Harden, who's getting traded this morning to that team, where the ball is going to be spread around way too much for in fantasy terms for them to be like all
PG
producing.
and Kawhi are going to be the most productive on that team.
And then he was just like, yeah, I had a feeling, so I just traded Harden last night, and it worked out perfectly for him. This dude's a wizard, absolute wizard.
Love to hear it. Talk about load management too. So Adam Silver is directly targeting the Clippers for load management because Kawhi and PG sat out too many times last season. So that's being avoided this season by all teams, but specifically the Clippers.
I mean, I totally understand it because I know everyone makes this argument, and I also know the NBA player side of it where they say that you don't understand how much work goes into being an NBA player. Look, I don't care. If you're getting paid millions, bazillions of dollars to go play basketball and to practice and to work your body, then you better go out and do it because there's people like, for example, when we were young, we were basketball fans. When we go, we want to see the Kawhis and the Paul Georges play and the LeBrons play. So if you're load managing, you're just doing a disservice to your fans.
James Harden got fined $100,000 for missing out the first 2 games for the Sixers because he was not injured, so it technically counted as going into load management protocols.
He's such a big baby. He's such a big baby. You have all the money in the world and you won't go out and hoop. That's your hoop dream. That's what you're doing as a job. You're living your dream, but instead you want to be entitled and be a diva about it and be like, oh, I hate this front office, so I'm not going to go play a game of basketball. I would rather, you know what he's saying? He's saying, I would rather lose $100,000 than go play a full game of basketball.
Well, it's like pocket change to him. In Harden's defense, the Sixers front office held him out, had him practicing at the facilities at home in Philly because he skipped practicing in the offseason, so he was punished. So it wasn't completely his fault, but...
I know, but my stance on it is, okay, so imagine for us, right? If someone paid you $100,000 right now to go play against an NBA All-Star team, are you doing it?
Any normal person would do that.
Exactly. So what could $100,000 buy you if he's getting fined that for not playing? Like $100,000, that's a down payment on a very, very nice house. I could change my entire life with $100,000, but he's just tossing that away because he wants to be a big old diva about it.
Do you think Harden has a real chance with the Clippers this season to making it far?
No, because I don't know if my opinion is a popular opinion about this, but I say that the more stars you have on a team, the less likely you are to go deep in the playoffs.
I think it all depends on the chemistry of the team, and the health is definitely being questioned for the Clippers.
I mean, that's always a question. They have a lot of injury-prone players, but I also think that the chemistry is a huge thing, and it's also when everybody wants to be the guy on a team, everyone wants to be that guy who gets the final shot up or gets their 30-piece in a game. When you have too many players who want that and you won't have anyone step back and take a lesser role, then it just creates chaos on the team. And eventually you're going to score a lot less points because you're trying to force so many people to get their own 20-piece, 30-piece, you know?
Harden's been traded 4 times the last 4 years.
Locker room cancer. That's what he is.
I mean, he needs to show more commitment to an organization.
Exactly. You get what you put out. And James Harden only puts out what seems to be negativity and arrogance. And that is not how you create a championship culture within an organization.
Now, if you had to guess what the finals would look like, what 2 teams you think?
Nuggets out of the West. Got to be the Nuggets out of the West. I don't think any team is going to be beating them besides the Warriors, maybe. But I think the Nuggets win in the 7-game series. So I got the Nuggets. And as much as I want to say the Heat, I'm not going to. I can't. I'm not. Nuggets and Celtics. Actually, no. No. If it's Celtics and Bucks, I got Bucks. If that's how the dice rolls and it's Bucks and Celtics somehow, I got Bucks winning that. So I'm going to go Nuggets versus Bucks. What do you think?
I'm taking Celtics. They look way too good. Starters way too strong. They're going to make the finals. And I have Suns actually beating the Nuggets to go to the finals if Beal, KD, Booker all stay healthy.
See, that's my problem. I don't agree with that.
If they stay healthy.
If they stay healthy, but no, they can be on steroids for all I care. Book, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal are not all getting their own satisfaction out of the game, scoring a lot of points, getting a lot of assists, getting a lot of rebounds. They're not going to be getting that. And when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to be bitching and moaning at each other, just like how all those big superstar teams do when it comes down to it, like the Brooklyn Nets team.
We haven't seen them play all together at once, so I think it's a fair accusation. We need to give them a chance first.
I mean, I'll give them a chance, but I think the Nuggets, they're such a well-coached team. Their chemistry is great. Everybody knows their role. Not even talking about Christian Brown, who is an absolute young beast. I don't think the Suns are going to be able to.
He definitely has a lot of potential.
Yeah. Was it last year when Kevin Durant, was that versus the Nuggets where he got absolutely demolished under the rim? Was that by the Nuggets?
Yeah.
And that video got wiped off the face of the planet. Kevin Durant got, I don't know who it was on the Nuggets, but he got absolutely dunked on, demolished on.
It was Gordon. Aaron Gordon.
Of course it was Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's going to be doing that to his bitch ass again this season. I promise you. If it comes down to Suns versus Nuggets, I think the Nuggets are going to win and go to the championship.
That's a fair prediction.
Yeah, I mean, it can go either way. I mean, for all we know, we could both be totally wrong and the Warriors come out and just drop 23s a game on everyone's head the entire postseason, you know?
Now, we haven't mentioned him today, but I feel like it's my duty to mention this player. Luka Doncic, most outstanding player to start the first 3 games. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, I see all these videos on SportsCenter talking about how Luka is going crazy, and then I throw on the highlights because I was busy during that game.
2 triple-doubles out of 3 games.
Yeah, and I see the highlights, and I'm like, he's throwing up these prayer threes that look like they're totally broke.
As he's throwing those numbers, the efficiency is at its highest.
It's at his high, exactly, and he's scary, man. And when I watch him play, I just think, how do you even practice that? Like, what is he practicing to be that good in those off-base, like, improvised scenarios?
You see those 3 step-back threes to end the half? That was ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And then the one where he had the one-handed, like total horse shot where he just
to end the game versus the Nets. Yeah, that was crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if Luka, like when he shot that, he just like whispered in the defender's ear, like, backboard.
Dinwiddie was not Dinwiddie. Sorry, Dorian Finney-Smith was shaking his head like, "What do I do?" And it was his old teammate.
I mean, that sometimes it's all you can do. I mean, I'm sure people when they guard LeBron have said that many times, like, what can I even do? I'm in his face. My fingers are an inch from the ball. There's nothing else I can do.
How can you guard LeBron? You can't guard him.
Same with Luka. And it's so crazy to me because Luka, the way he plays, like if you're a casual basketball fan, when you watch Luka, you think he might play like too slow, maybe like he handles the ball sloppy. But if you watch a full Luka Doncic performance, you understand like it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, he's not turning the ball over. He's still making all his shots. He might have a really slow shot progression, but it's still making it over the defender and going in the basket, and he is doing it at an elite, efficient level right now.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
That's crazy to me. I mean, Luka, for me right now, is probably my MVP frontrunner, and I know he's yours too.
I completely agree.
So who would you put at 2 right now? Like who's
Jason Tatum, easily.
I don't see Jason Tatum when I watch him. What matters to me about an MVP caliber player is obviously if you're an MVP candidate, your team is probably going to the playoffs. And for me, I need to see the MVP perform well in the playoffs. Just like Embiid last year was a total dud in the playoffs. Besides, I think he had like one good game. But he was a pretty much all-around dud in the playoffs.
Tatum's a healthy young buck like Luka. It's his time to shine. With Luka shining this year, so
I hope so. I mean, I want to see Jason Tatum perform at an elite level. I've been waiting to see it for a full postseason.
They've been dominant their first 3 games, and the Mavericks too. They're both 3-0.
So yeah, I think it's between those two. I don't know if I can put Jason Tatum at 2, but I also don't know if I have a third candidate to put there.
Steph Curry's up there, but I don't know if he can keep it up because he is an old veteran.
He's an old vet, but also his style of play when he is really trying his hardest, he's running around so much and he does so much cardio that Steph is prepared to be the guy who is running around super much and being that guy, even though he's an old vet, he can still go out and run around all the time. Since he's not as physical, he's able to rack up that cardio. So he might be old, but I still think he has a good chance to win MVP if he really wanted it.
I think Steph is so productive because the way he takes care of his body day in and day out, like LeBron James.
Exactly. Since he's not as physical, he's able to do all that stuff and be able to still, put up those good numbers. But my thing is with Steph is I don't think he's chasing a MVP anymore. I don't think he has to prove that to people because the Warriors could still go into the playoffs barely making it and then turn up that next level and still go out and play at a high level to win a championship.
Steph is still a top 10 player, no debate.
Absolutely. So when it comes down to it, you could put Steph at third. You could put a lot of people at third. If Steph wanted to win an MVP, he could win the MVP.
He definitely has it in him to do it.
So it's just a matter of what he wants at this stage in his career, if he wants a championship more or an MVP more, because I don't think he cares to do both.
I agree.
So with these last couple minutes, let's go into the college football playoff rankings that have not yet dropped. They dropped tonight at 7 or 8 o'clock. I'm not sure which. So we don't have the actual rankings yet. If you had to create the top 6 with the 2 people looking in, what would your top 6 look like for the college football rankings?
In no order of fashion, I have Georgia, Alabama, Washington, Florida State. I want to say Oregon too. I know it seems weird, but Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon is on the outside looking in for me. I don't put them in my top 6 because Oregon has that loss to Washington. So I can't put them in my top 6 because I don't want to put 2 teams that already faced each other at 5 and 6. My top 6 rankings look like Bama at 6 on the outside looking in because I can't discount Nick Saban and that loads of talent he has. If Nick Saban can get that quarterback play better into a more pro level, then Bama is scary, as they always are.
They started slow, but now they're finally getting back up there in the top 5 rankings for sure.
Exactly. So if they can ramp it up towards the end, then Bama's always a team to watch out for. So I'm going to put Bama at 6. At 5, I'm going to have to go Washington. I'm putting Washington at 5 because my top 4, to me, are undisputed.
They had tons of deep bombs last week, Washington, right in the red zone. The quarterback did outstanding last week.
Penix is crazy. He's one of my favorite Heisman candidates, but they got to put it all together before I can put him in my top 4 because the top 4 for me are very, very solid. My top 4, y'all aren't going to like this, but I got to stand on my Georgia as a number 1 fraud statement. I'm putting Georgia at 4. I'm putting Georgia at 4 because they haven't shown enough to me that they are worthy of being the number 1 team. But my top 3 have had a case for being the number 1 team. I'm putting FSU at 3. I'm putting Ohio State at 2 and Michigan at 1. I think Michigan has a lot that they can still prove, but up until this point, they've looked very, very solid through and through.
I like your list for the most part. I have to keep Michigan at that 1 or 2 spot, and I know you like Georgia at 4, but I still am a big believer in the Dogs.
I'm a big believer in the Dogs, but without Brock Bowers, I don't think you can be at 1 anymore. I think the Dogs have a great chance of winning it, just as the other 4 or 5 teams do, but I don't think they have what it takes to take it to a championship level this season. Carson Beck is not playing great. He's playing great, but he's not playing like they have played in the past, so I'm not sure. I can't put him at 1. I can put him comfortably at 4, though.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, how outstanding would it be if Florida State does take the 1 spot, our school?
Florida State has a case for the number 1 spot. I'm not going to put them there yet, but towards the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if we blow out Miami and blow out Florida. There's not many people who can say that Florida State isn't worthy of the 2 or 1 spot. I think that we do make it to the playoffs this year because it just makes sense with our schedule remaining, and also the ACC championship contender besides us is up for grabs right now. We have a really good case to go to the college football playoffs, and when we get there, it's going to be a tough road, but there is a chance that we can win the whole thing.
I would say it's a safe bet Florida State doesn't lose 1 in-season game.
I would agree with that. And the ACC championship game with North Carolina dropping 2 games, Louisville is Louisville. There's not many teams who, even Clemson's 4-4 right now. So when it comes to the ACC championship game, before the dust settles and the college football playoff official ending rankings are out, there's not many teams that are standing in our way. I think when it comes down to the actual playoffs, as I said, I think it's going to be Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. Whoever we play in the playoffs is going to be an absolute dogfight.
I completely agree. I'm scared we're going to go out the first round, but I have high chances and hopes for Florida State.
For me, I just think that making it to the playoffs itself is a huge win for a program that has been down in the dumps for so long, the past 5 years, and now we finally have playoff hopes. I am satisfied, and all Florida State fans should be too. You should be satisfied that we are probably going to make the playoffs. So no matter what happens in the playoffs, we should be content and satisfied as fans that the team has finally turned it around and hit their stride. So if it was Michigan versus FSU, that's a tough one. Georgia versus FSU is a tough one. Ohio State versus FSU is a tough one. But the reason I have Georgia at 4 is because I think Georgia is the easiest win out of Michigan, Ohio State, or Georgia in a potential playoff matchup. I think Georgia is the easiest win.
So enough with the rankings. Who's taking it all, Mason? Who is taking the crown?
If Michigan if they can beat those sign stealing allegations, I'm still going to have to stick with Michigan. But up until we have a decision on those sign stealing allegations, I'm going Michigan. But if it's not Michigan, I'm going to have to go Florida State.
Yes, sir.
I think at the end of the season, when we put everything together and we can stay healthy, there's not many teams out there who are going to put up 40 with us week in, week out with our elite defense. I don't see any way any team sticks up and puts 40 with us in the playoffs. If we can have our best game in the playoffs, nobody's beating us.
I love it.
I love it too. I'm so excited, man. We have so much that's going to be covered on this channel between college football, NFL, NBA. This is the greatest season of sports we've seen since, I think, 2016, and I'm super excited, so is Jack, to get that content out to you guys. And without any further ado, Jack, what else do you have to say before we close it out here?
Guys, next week, the Doghouse goes mobile. We're taking the Alabama. We're going to have some pretty cool guests, so I can't wait for that.
Man, yeah, we're going mobile to Tuscaloosa, man, University of Alabama. I know all you guys are interested in Bama Rush, what's it like in Greek life, and one of the biggest Greek life universities in the country, along with their elite football culture. And we're going to be covering all of that, getting the inside scoop for you guys next week, and we're super excited to share that content with you guys. With that being said, I think it's time to close it out. Yeah, go Doghouse, baby.